We're going to do a build and burn, and we're going to focus on a little bit different stuff. We're going to take some time to work on error handling, or just talk through error handling, because it's a really confusing thing that's going on. It's something that, I'm going to be honest, I don't fully understand, but I know enough to be able to use it effectively, and that's what matters. So we'll dive into that today. I've also noticed that a lot of you guys have errors because there's like little things in Postman that you need to have set to the right settings or things like that in order for your post or put requests to work. So we'll take a couple seconds and go over that in a minute too. And then we'll just have a build and burn. We might, after we build everything, go over how to put your routes in a separate file, because once you have multiple tables in databases, you're going to have multiple route files. So if you have two tables, like one is for books and one is for authors, you're going to have a route that goes to your books table and a route, like a full set of routes for books and a full set of routes for authors, all in the same app. So we might hit on that today if we have time. If not, we will hit on it later. So it will be covered at some point, if not today. Cool. So just to get started, I have already created a folder and opened it in code, or in VS Code. So create a folder, open it in whatever code editor you are using.
This is going over CRUD.
Mm-hmm. No, we're completely doing it again.
Oh, alright. That's what my question.
Yeah, this is a fully new build and burn. We're trying to get reps in. So like if you write completely new things enough times, the next time you have to look at an Express app or look at a blank folder and build an Express app out of it, it's a more familiar process. Yeah, take your time.
I remember my question.
What was your question?
Well, just because I watched Max take on this stuff last week, and he just did a different type of post, and I was just going to ask you why he sent a JSON versus a res.send.
Oh, he did res.json?
Yeah, and he just didn't know.
I don't know the difference between those two things, I'm going to be honest. I have used them interchangeably, so there's not a big difference. I know that much. Yeah, I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's find out together. Ooh, sorry. Express res.send versus res.json. Oh, there you go. So the methods are identical when an object or array is passed, but res.json will also convert non-objects such as null or undefined. So that's why.
You don't have all that stuff memorized?
I know, I'm slacking. Do. Okay.
So just make an index address.
I haven't even done that yet. I just made an empty folder. And then I'm going to npm init-y. Now I have a package.json, which is awesome. And I'll create an index.js because that is what it says in my main, and I want to keep those two things consistent. Okay, what am I going to do next?
Express equals express response.
Close. Wait, express response. We don't have express yet. Install express. Okay, so now we have node modules, package lock, which means something was installed. It was express. Awesome. There's one other thing we need that the last code along I forgot until way later. What is it? True. There's two things that I forgot. NodeMon and body parser are the two things that we're going to need.
Can you go over what body parser is exactly again?
Yes. So first I'm going to say npm install save dash dev. That's what it is. Okay. I know. Let me have my process.
I just did it after.
You did it after?
Still installing.
I thought it worked both ways. Everyone, last build and burn, everyone was like, whoa, you have it out of order.
He was wrong.
He was wrong. Okay, and then npmi body dash parser. And that was not a dev dependency. Why? Yeah, but why didn't I make it a dev dependency?
Because you need it when you deploy.
Yeah. My app will not work without it, so I need it to deploy it with my app. Cool. Let's go to, let's look more at body parser. So essentially what body parser does is it just converts the body that you get into JSON for you so you can actually use it. And so you can use filter to compare the body that you get in your request to other data you have in your app, or just you can look at it. Otherwise, it's just undefined. Yeah, I don't know if there's... And apparently you can get very fancy with it, but we just usually just app.use bodyparser.json. Okay, cool. So I have all the things installed that I need. What do I do in here?
Const express equals required express.
And then I'm just gonna require everything.
npm install -y, doesn't that put the JSON package onto your file?
npm install -y.
Yeah.
npm init-y creates your package JSON for you, so you don't have to edit the info as you go. I do not know what -y would do in an npm install.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't think, I think you got it mixed up. Cool, and then we're going to do app.listen. Oh, haha, I forgot port. Sweet, I've got a basic Express app set up. I do want to make a start script. I was about to do that in a second. I was going to make my data first. Okay, guys.
I'm actually starting to remember how to do this stuff.
And that is why we have this many build and burns. So that you can remember how to do the things when we are not here to tell you how to do the things. Oh, that's not node. Node index.js in start, and dev has nodemon. Why do I have them as, why isn't nodemon in start?
Because if you deploy a Heroku, it doesn't have nodemon and it will error out.
Yes, it will break.
Because it needs the string.
So Heroku uses your start script.
It doesn't matter if start and dev are in that order.
It does not matter if they're in that order. I don't know why I like having start at the very top of my scripts. Personal preference thing, but you can put it wherever you want. As long as start is node.
Don't have an order, right? There's no, objects don't have an order to them at all, no matter what.
They're just floating.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's make some data. Let's make an array of objects. And we will make the objects dogs. Does dog seem like a good?
Wait, did you make the data.json?
Yes, sorry. So I made a data.json, and then we're going to build this data together, and then I will Slack it out to you in a thread where I said that I was going to start the build and burn. So let's make the data really fast. Huh?
I can just do touch data.json, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to want an ID, and then what data do we want to work with? Just pick something random. Someone, anyone.
Tips and donuts.
Type. Ooh, that was so many things at once.
Imaginary people.
Imaginary
Yeah,
people?
like bunny rabbits. I mean, not bunny rabbits.
Bunny
Easter
rabbits.
Easter
Those
rabbits,
imaginary
Santa
things.
Claus, leprechauns, with all that sort of shit.
Bunnies are imaginary.
G102 ideas for data.
Yeah.
G102 ideas for data.
Categories.
Ideas.
There you go.
There we go. First one,
You said
imaginary
you would flex out, or-
rabbits.
Imaginary rabbits. Perfect.
I got you, Reed. Cool. I'm actually going to do. There we go.
That's kind of the best.
Sweet. Okay. Imaginary rabbits. Idea 2 was favorite board games.
Favorite board games?
I think you missed what's going on here.
Donuts was one.
Like chess. Types of
You guys are yelling out words.
Hence.
Pants.
Wow, student injuries.
Beyblades is for sure going on here. I forgot about Beyblades, guys.
Little top toys.
Wait, sorry. Does someone not know what Beyblades are?
I don't.
We got it too big.
It's really okay.
I'm sorry. Can you please leave this breakout? What was after Beyblades?
They're just tops.
You take it back.
Student injuries.
Are there a lot of those? That's so ominous.
Oh wow.
Okay, 2 more.
Avril Lavigne songs.
Ah, nice.
No.
Cats and hats. Cats and cats.
All other songs.
Oh.
Top 10 anime deaths.
Top 10 anime deaths. I was going there.
Finally, we get it.
That's hilarious. Oh,
No,
wait,
no,
no,
don't be crazy. That was
7. Okay,
Top 10 anime deaths.
sweet.
I think we have way too much fun with this.
Because there's a billion of them.
I used to like struggle with trying to think of object ideas, and then I don't know why I ever did that because you guys are so full of them all the time. Okay, so go create a data.json and put all that data. Am I recording? Yeah. Look at this little circle.
Hello, Trey.
Hi, Trey.
They all say hi, Trey.
Just looking out.
Can you just wave? Live stream on Twitch. Yeah. Be so exciting for people.
You might be surprised.
I'm pretty sure that like violates some part of my contract with Galvanize if I tried to make money on the side with the lessons I was teaching for them. Yeah, so it's in the thread where I said that I would start a breakout at 110. In that, I feel bad always like blowing up your channel with random data, so I usually try and put things from breakouts in a thread about the breakout.
The way you set up your data stresses me out.
Oh, change it.
I know I am.
Okay. Oh, because it's like all in one line?
One line.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to look at it.
Sorry, Spencer, you stressed us out.
Okay. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
You good? Other than editing the way that I wrote my data. Rude. Okay, so now we need to require our data because we don't actually have access to it. So let's say, whoa, so close. What do I have to do differently here than I did in my other require statements? Yes, it has to be a file path. Quick review, what does this dot mean in a file path? Yeah, current directory. I feel so bad. You always raise your hand and then someone else just shouts it out before you can answer. Yeah. At least someone has manners.
I don't know what those are.
Okay, so now we have access to our data.
Wow, okay.
Sweet, now let's write some stuff. What am I going to write first?
That's it.
Well, we gotta require byte or put it in there.
So yeah, we do eventually. We don't need to use it yet because we're not using a body yet. Once we start writing post and put is normally when I put it in. It doesn't really change much. I just like to, especially in build and burns, leave it to that point so it emphasizes why we use it. Because initially when I learned Express, there was a lot of me copy and pasting things and not knowing why I was using them. And so during this time, I like to be very clear of like, we are using this just for these. If you're ever writing just a simple get route and that's your entire server, you don't need body parser.
Okay.
Cool. Why do I just have a slash here instead of a dot slash?
Because that's the root, right? Like you want the shit from somewhere.
Eloquent. We want to get the shit from somewhere. So it's because it's not a file path. So dot slash is a file path. This isn't a file path. Yeah.
That's what I was going for.
So that's connected to the path on the HTTP thing.
Yeah. So on the URL, this is referring to the slash in a URL,
Yes.
not. Yeah. Cool. And we need rec and res. I'm actually going to leave out next because we haven't used it yet, so I'm not even going to put it in there. Isn't it good? I want him to feel included. And in here, res.send. And what does res.send take? An object. And what is this one word? Like, yeah, the one word is data. Oh man, what is this? In ES6, what is this doing?
Assign, send, key value, variable.
Yeah, so data is the key and the value. Sweet. Nailed it. We have a GET request. Beautiful. Or a GET route. So now let's go by ID. All of these things should be very familiar to you at this point. We've written a lot of them. What am I going to do in here?
Filter and see if they matches.
I will filter eventually, but I need to have...
Get the ID of ID equals correct.rands.id or put the ID in curly brackets and do that down.
Yes, so we can either put the ID in curly brackets or we can just say var ID equals rec.params.id. I like this syntax, it makes me feel fancy, so I'm gonna write it that way. So we have our ID now, and now we can filter. So let's say var filtered equals data.filter. What am I returning?
Object ID.
Which equal to?
Strictly. No, not strictly.
Not strictly equal to. Because the ID from rec.params It's a string. So if we strictly equals these two things, it will always return false, and we will never get the data that we actually want. Cool. And now let's send the right thing off to them.
ID this time?
So we're not going to send data because data would just be the whole array. They're asking for one specific item in the array. What are we going to send them? Filtered, yeah. I'm going to call it data again just for consistency. Now let's write a post with rec and res, fat arrow into curly braces. And here is where I will need to implement body parser. Now I'll go to the top of my code and say app.use body parser.json. And this is telling body parser that we want everything converted into JSON. Why do I put the app.use at the very top of my code? Yeah, because it reads the code in order, and we want everything to be turned into JSON before it touches anything else in our code. And it's also easier to read if all your app.uses are in the same place.
You go back on the post.
Yes.
Hey, Sean. Can I ask you a question?
No. Yeah, what's your question? You go first.
I don't want to know the
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what you're doing now. I guess my question was just with the post and the put, when we're creating that like slash, you know, like the other day we did slash ID or whatever. So how can you only post in that specific space, like in that URL, or can you post throughout the website?
You can only post to this URL.
To this?
Everything else will break it.
Okay. Like you
So-
can post somewhere else.
Yeah, like if say we had two tables and we had the books and the authors, if I would have an apps.post specific to books.
And then you have
And then an
to
app
create a
books.
different one specific to jobs.
Yeah.
Because of-
But since I only have one table, I'm just doing app.post.
That's all RESTful is, right? Just making sure you organize paths and then such a way that makes sense.
Mhm.
Or use it, I guess.
Let's talk about it together, Greg, in case the else is the same error.
I'm just not getting the data, so I
You're not getting data?
don't. Yeah. On my route, like if I go to 3000, I'm not getting my data.
Well, let's see what's up.
Yeah, you're probably not alone, so it's good for all of us to try to debug it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting my data, so let's figure out what's going on. In your data JSON, do you have anything other than the array of objects?
No.
Okay. And then in your index.js, do you have the file path / whatever you named this .json? Nodemon. How do you all call it no daemon? It's node.
I was missing.
No demon. No demon.
If anyone says no daemon, you're kicked out of this breakout.
Cool, so you're creating a required?
Yeah, I was missing one requirement.
Awesome.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Do you have your data?
I don't
think so.
Can I
Mine's
see
getting
the
an error.
bottom? I think yeah, okay. I sneezed and I missed.
Filtered is not a function.
Filtered?
Yeah, data.filter.
Yeah, so filter with an ed at the end is not a function, but filter is a function.
Oh.
Just npm run dev.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just getting errors.
Okay. Here. glance at your code really fast.
Anything else?
It's because you don't have a dev.
That was
Okay. I was like, that's. I'll let you mess with it for a second, and then.
It's all about Beyblades, dude.
Are you getting?
Yes, you don't have dev. Is it safe?
Beyblades probably not.
Yeah. So if there's a little white circle there, it's not safe.
I think it's.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So it's just fat arrow. Yeah. Yeah, so that's all I have. I don't have anything else. So you could quit out of
You start growing.
So if you do Control C, it will quit the process. Can not restart it. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, and then if people are still having errors in a minute, I will come around and have another break. I just don't want there to be like super large dead times in the video, because I don't really want to edit it later, if I'm being honest. Sweet, okay, so we have both of our get routes, which is awesome. Now we just need to make our post route. What are the two things I need to initially do when I want to write a post route? There are 2 bits of data, or no, actually no, that's a put route. There's 1 piece of data that I really need in here in order for it to work. What is that piece of data? A key?
A key?
No, a key? You will need a body. You'll need the request body. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And again, this is the exact same as writing that. Just looks fancier. Sweet. Okay, so we now have our body, so we can do something with it, which is ballin'. Now let's put our body into an object with an ID and send it off to our data.json. What do I need to do to start that process out? Create an object. I have to give it an ID. And what do I want the ID to be? No, ID is not rect out, so I have to create the ID.
Data.length plus 1.
Nice. Data.length plus 1. We want the length of the array plus 1 because we've named things pretty dynamically, so however long the array is plus 1 will give us the next ID in our sequence.
Is there a reason you're using vars and like const or let, just preference?
I don't like const that much. I don't know why. I've ran into errors with it because if you try and change it later, it gets mad at you because it's const. So I like to primarily use var or let and then only use const on the rare occasions like stuff like this. It's never going to change.
So, useful for the ID thing, like if we like do the delete thing, like delete one of the item and then run this post again, and then does it just going to add the next ID? Are we going to have a duplicated ID?
We would, yeah. So ID is not normally something we handle in Express. ID is something that's handled further on down the pipeline. So this is our kind of hacky way of doing it since we don't have a database. Normally your database generates the ID. Yeah.
Next week.
Huh?
Next week, it's going down.
Next week, you're going to be able to generate some IDs dynamically without running into, yeah. This code, if you tried to put in production, you'd have a lot of errors because it's like there's a reason that it's set up the way it is with connects and PostgreSQL and all of that because there's so much we'd have to write in here in order for it to work correctly just standing alone as Express. So this is our intro. It's not like, I don't know the word I want. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so now we have our ID, which is awesome. Our objects have one other thing, which is the idea. So let's just create an idea key and set it equal to body.idea. Ideas? Why did I make it plural? Oh, okay. For fun. Sweet. And then now we want to actually do something with this object. What do I want to do with it? I do want to post it. How do I get it into my data? Push. Yeah. Data.push obj. And then I want to send back, or I can do a res.json, like what Matt does. Either one works. There's not that big of a difference between the two. Okay, and now we want to send a post request to see if this is actually working. To do that, we're going to go into Postman, and we're going to walk through all the little things that you need to have in order to have a working post request.
Do we, for the post, do we put data in the object, or do we put ideas in the objects?
That does not matter.
I guess we
Yeah.
do a different thing.
So this is just descriptive, whatever you want it to say when the user gets it back. I'm putting data right now just for consistency's sake. There's no real other reason. I can definitely put idea because it is a single idea they're getting back. And then on the array up at the top, I can say ideas. But since I started with data, I'm trying to stay with data.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Does anyone know what you need to do in Postman in order to have a successful post request? There's a few things you need to click here. Yeah. It has to be raw, and this has to be JSON. It's initially text. If this isn't in color, your post will fail. And you'll think it's your backend, and it's not. It's you using Postman. This right here, this drop down,
JSON?
has to say JSON. Yeah.
My Postman's not allowing me to click on body.
Are you in?
If you aren't in post right here, you have to be in post because you can't send a body in certain methods.
It's a good question, though, Connor, and I'm sure a lot of people are still sort of bumping into stuff like that.
Yeah, Postman takes a little bit of getting used to. This is definitely the time where you'll get more and more familiar with it because you'll start using it all the time. You'll start using it all the time. So the main ones we use here, get, post, put, and delete. Which one of these need bodies in order to be successful? One more. Put, yeah, and patch does too. But we're messing with get, post, put, and delete. Delete and get will not take bodies and do not need bodies.
Question. Should I have anything inside the where you have stuff?
This?
Yeah, there.
Yeah, so you want to send an object with the key of ideas and then some idea after it. Just some string after it.
Just write it in there.
Yeah, just write it in here. There's one thing that's going to be in our object that I'm not putting here. What is it? ID. Do not send an ID. ID is something that our backend handles. We don't do that. Yeah. You as a user of an API would never send off an ID to the API. If you were creating something, it would make it for you.
Does it matter what your bottom body looks like?
The what?
Like if you scroll down.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
No, so this is going to be the response. When I send this off, this will be whatever I get back. Yeah. So when I send this off right now, let's see what happens. Yeah, I just got one back, which is the one that I created, I think. Yeah, so I just sent the object back. I didn't send the whole array back. So I just got one object, the ID of 9, with the idea that I sent it.
And if you go to get and actually, like just in Postman, it should populate your new get as long as you don't refresh it.
Yeah, if you save something in NodeMon, it will get rid of all of it. But NodeMan. But yeah, here in our GET request, we have an ID of 9 and the idea that I just sent it. Wild.
Yeah, I got that too.
Oh.
What you get?
Yeah, so if you get to localhost 3000, you should get an array.
You click send.
Yeah, you have to send it to get the data back.
Send it.
Why does this disappear? Wait, go first.
I have a question. So
Mhm.
my ID 9 is blank, but then I have ID 10 with expired concert tickets.
Because you probably.
You-
Sent it.
Yeah, you probably sent one that was blank and then sent one with something written in it. Okay, so let's bring attention back up here. Why will this disappear if I refresh anything in my app?
Yeah. I was gonna say, this is outside of your app.
Mhm.
And it's storing it in Postman.
It's not storing it in Postman. It's storing it in our app. It's stored here because we pushed it into our array. But there's no data persistence. So initially when we restart this whole server, it only has 8 ideas. It doesn't hold on to those ideas when we restart the server. It only holds on to the ones that are hard-coded in because we don't have data persistence, which that is something we'll get to when next week when we start implementing PostgreSQL. We'll have an actual database that when we send anything, it is there now. Doesn't matter if we restart our server, it's there. But right now we don't have that. Yeah, so Postman does not have it. Our app has it, but not permanently.
I got a internal server up here.
Yeah, so
How?
what did you do with data on the top? Like you require it, right?
Yeah.
But then,
Are there a few errors going around?
so that ends up being an array then on 9.6? Yeah, right now, this one's like not responding to the server.
At all?
Yeah, it's actually just like kind of
Weird. I don't know. It might be, is there like a syntax error in the JSON? Maybe it's just objects, not an array of objects?
could be.
You're talking about the data.
You're getting a 500 server error?
Yeah.
Do you have a error handler?
I formatted
I think I have exactly what you have up there.
How are you getting a server error when you don't even have... That deeply confuses me because what you should be getting if something's broken is it should just never stop spinning. Oh, do you still have your other one running on maybe localhost? You might have something else running on localhost 3000 that has an error handler because you shouldn't be getting a 500 error back. We don't have that yet. You tried to restart it?
No, it's still not working.
Oh. After this, I'll sit down with you and we'll figure it out.
I'll come and take a look too. What's
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. And let's write our put request now, which is just gonna be app.put. What do I need this route to be? ID. Why do I need to have it by ID?
Because otherwise, you end up the entire.
Yes. We only want them to be able to edit one specific item at a time. Also, just usability. If you weren't able to edit the one specific thing you wanted to edit, that would be a pain. So we're giving them the one thing they want to edit, giving them access to edit one thing at a time. Sweet. And for put, I need 2 things in order to get started. I need 2 bits of data. What are those 2 things? I do need body. That's one of the things. I need one other thing. later I'll need that, but I need one thing first.
It's not a jump.
No, so we're changing by ID, so we need to grab our ID out of our rec.params. In order to get the object that we want to edit. Cool. So now I have the 2 bits of data I need to actually get started. What do I want to do first?
An array.
An array?
So like filter through or map through.
Map through an array? Yeah, let's do it. Mapped sounds like good. Data.map. I'm going to name each thing in here object just to keep it really, really simple. What do I want to happen inside of this map? Let's pseudocode for a second. What are the things I need to do in order to create a new object with the ID, or in order to edit the object that they want me to edit and put their body into that object? What are the steps I need to take?
Select the, oh sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
I say you need to select the object
Yeah, so find,
or access the object.
I'm going to say find the object because we just need the one object that matches the ID. Okay, so let's say I get the right object. I get the object that matches this ID. What do I want to do after that?
Access to our property that you're changing.
Access the property that we're changing. And then I want to change it to I don't know how to phrase that. I want to change it so it holds the same data that they sent us in our body.
Update it.
Yes. Okay, so I need to find the object. I need to figure out what property we're changing, which we're changing all of them each time. And then we want to change it so it holds the updated data from rec.body. How do I find the object? If. And then, yeah, ID equals ID. So if ID double equals obj.id, then I want all my logic to happen in here. Awesome, so we found the object. Now inside of here, we need these things to happen. We need to access the property that we're changing. How do we, so in put requests, you change all of the data except for the ID. The ID stays the same, the rest of the data is now whatever they just sent us. You don't like pick and choose what you change. But luckily we only have one thing that we're changing, which is ideas. So how am I going to reassign the key of ideas to the new thing that they just gave us? It sounds more complicated than it is. Beef.
Object of ideas equals the body
Yeah. So this works. So since we only have one thing that's changing, we can just use this syntax where, hey, now whatever ideas equaled, whatever the value of ideas was before, I want it to be the value of this ideas instead.
And this is actually, like, we have more than just one piece of information in this object, more than ID and ideas. We would have to create this for each of those values.
Usually like this.
Yeah, so you have to do that, like.
This is also something that's, I'm fairly sure, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks a little different when you handle this farther along your back end.
Well, you can do some really cool stuff, like with the spread operator. Like you can just say, you can open and close curly braces, and then you can say ID. So like if you want to take all the fields except for the ID, is that kind of what we're doing?
Yeah, because we don't have the ID to change, but we want to update everything.
Yeah, exactly. So right here you can say dot dot dot, and then whatever the object is. Yeah, but you might need to be literal about the key and say like, how would you do this? What's the error?
There's no error. I'm just curious because like.
I mean the red thing, like under the ellipses.
Right here? It's because there's no key.
Yeah, but there's a way to do this.
But there's just going to be an object.
That's what I'm asking. Because like tomorrow I want to put more than just ID in when we do our app. Like what happens when we have more than just one?
There's a way to do this. I'm not sure why that's not accepting that, but something like this would work, I think.
Was that? It was that. Sorry. I just had it free floating. So this will work.
Am I following what you were saying? Yeah.
Yeah,
There's actually.
I wanted to be able to update everything and not just one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. The data that I'm creating has multiple things.
Yeah. So this will do that. This will throw. Yeah. This is a really nice way of doing it, actually, Sean. This is.
What? Like you're just not. You didn't think I'd come up with a nice way to do something? Is that?
I was giving you a compliment.
I'm just glad that was recorded.
This guy.
So do you need the thing above it too, the object.ideas, or you only that's it?
Just this. Yeah.
Good question. So for that body thing, like does the key will be whatever that new value is, and then send as the.
This?
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering what's that.
Yeah, so this just, what the spread operator does, it takes everything inside of something, so inside of an array or inside of an object, and just pops it out of it. So this spread operator body would equal, like, the object we're sending is ideas, and then, like, here's an idea. What happens when you use a spread operator is it essentially just gets rid of the curly braces. And so now we just have the key that we had and the value that we had inside of that object. So this spread operator body is equal to the key of ideas with the value of whatever was sent to us.
It's just something that's there for everything, like all the new things.
Yeah, so the spread operator body, like no matter how many things you have in your body, how many key value pairs are in there, this throws all of them into this object. I'm going to change this though. I don't want var object to equal this. I want object to equal this. I'm going to reassign my object. So in this, I have if the ID equals the object at ID, reassign the object that we're looking at right now with this ID to this new thing I just made. So in this new array, the one thing that matched ID, the ID, is now this object. It's not the object it was before. I reassigned it. So this obj equals is how we're accessing the property that we're changing, and then this is where we're actually changing it. Cool. I want one other thing though, outside of my if, I want something else to happen, because right now this is just going to be an array of one thing, because we only returned one thing out of this. So how am I going to get it so it returns all the objects, all the rest of the objects? Because we're creating a brand new array that has our updated data in it. We want it full of all of our data, because we're going to reassign our old data to this data now. So it's our updated data. I'm using data so much. So right here, I just want to return object. So if this matches, change the object and then return it. If it doesn't match, just return the object. Because if it doesn't match, I don't want to change it. Just give me the original thing. And now I have this array full of the correct data that I want. So here is where I'll say data equals mapped.
This is all going to look a little different also. Like we've said this a few times, but once we start using Postgres and once we start using Next, like the exact thing we're doing here is going to be just slightly different, but at least by then the Express stuff will be second nature. And,
yeah. Don't stress too, yes. Don't stress, I meant to say that and I completely forgot.
I'm just highlighting, you already said it once too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, okay. I'm doing my job. But for the people in the video, what Sean said is these things are going to look a little bit different once we're actually using Postgres and connects and all of those things. We're not going to be reassigning the array that we originally had to our new updated array. This all is going to happen more behind the scenes or a couple steps further back. So this is almost a hacky way of doing it. This is like making it work with just JavaScript, just an array, a very low-level version of Express. And then once we start adding in those other pieces, this syntax will look different. This will also break because I have const data and then I try and reassign data, so I'm going to change this to var. So if you don't like this way of doing things, or you think it's hacky, or you'd like to know more about what it looks like in production, we'll get more into that next week when we start implementing the things you would need to actually get this into production.
Would you mind writing it out, actually, and having both of the different methods up there where you're sending the ID and when you're not?
What do you mean?
Or, like, without the spread operator sending body in is all I'm referring to.
Oh, so
I had it written out the other way, and I'm just trying to get clear on, like, the little nuances. I think I get it, but I'm not totally.
This essentially does the same thing. So instead of reassigning the whole object to a new object that we created, we just assigned this key to a new value.
Well, would you replace like the entire return object
this would,
with that line and get rid of the return object?
No, you would still need the return object down here.
Cool.
Because we want...
Would you replace the upper one with that line of object ideas equals body.ideas?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So the reason we're returning this initial object too, and we're not just editing the one and keeping that one, is because I want it to stay in the same spot in the array. I don't want to pull it out, change it, and push it back in. And it's really, really hard to push an array, like an element from an array, into the right spot. Push always puts it at the end. I don't want it at the end. I want it where it was. That's why I'm creating a new array that edits it, leaves it where it was in the array, and then gives me all the other things back. So if I'm editing the ID of 4 right now, it will stay the fourth place in my array, the third index in my array. Cool. So now we get to go, let's edit, let's test this out. Let's see if put works. Oh, I'm not sending anything back. Haha. Let's send something back. Oh, I don't want that actually. So let's res.send data. Let's see if it actually updates it. And then I'll jump into Postman. I'll select put. I'll make sure this says raw and JSON, application JSON. Which ID? I'm going to edit the third one, and I want it to say expired concert tickets instead of whatever it said before. So I'm going to send that off, and let's see. And the third one now says expired concert tickets. And because we created a new array and had every element from that array pushed in, it's still the second index of our array. It's still right in between 4 and 2, which is what we wanted. Yeah.
Will you scroll up real fast to...
Oh, to this?
Yeah, to the upper piece of data.
If it will let me. Yeah.
So how did it know the third one? Will you repeat that?
Yeah, so it's in my URL.
Oh, cool. That's right.
Yeah, so we had it going by ID, which is why we had rec.params.id. So we need to have an ID up here so they can edit the correct thing. If there is not an ID, actually we don't have an error handler, so it will just wait forever for a response and it won't get one.
Yeah, I just sent it or whatever, but my body doesn't look like that. My body has like a bunch of HTML.
Do you have, okay, check these things first. Make sure it's a put request. Make sure you have an ID at the end of your URL. Make sure it's raw and JSON.
Yep. And then at the bottom part underneath it, that's right there, just HTML file.
So the HTML file should have an error in it.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Type error assignment to constant array.
Yeah, so I did that kind of quickly. And I just said one thing about it, so I didn't spend too much time on it. I changed const data to var data, because const data will break. You cannot reassign something that is const. You can reassign var. So I changed data to var data.
So then if you do it again, it'll return everything, but the third one will be expired content tickets.
Yeah, so if I go over right now, because I don't think I saved anything when I was over there. If it did, it won't work. So I have expired concert tickets right there. If I go here, I send a GET. Right now it says types of donuts. Now it says expired concert tickets. So it worked. Yeah, I'm sorry. The put is a beast of a thing.
This is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime.
This is very helpful.
Okay, masters in computer science. Why are you even here? Don't make this personal. You just said this wasn't helpful.
Throw that out there real fast.
Real. You can always learn from other developers, Sean.
I've had it up to here.
Stand up there in your tower.
Stand up there in your tower, pointing at everyone. Okay, so I want us as a group really fast to talk through what's happening with put. I'm not going to talk through it. We're going to talk through it. I'm going to ask you what's going on, and we're going to explain it. And there are a few people, Beef, don't answer, because you know it all, and I don't know. I want people to talk that haven't been talking through this breakout. So, yeah. Okay, so what is happening right here? Someone from this table. Who hasn't been talking a lot from this breakout? Greg. You can just make a wild guess. So I'm saying
variable,
mm-hmm.
then body.
Yeah, cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying variable body equals rec.body. That's what the syntax is doing. So this syntax is the exact same as saying this. I like this syntax because it's fancy. You do not have to use it. If this is more readable to you, use this. So then read what is. Oh yeah, no, sorry. When you have a second, what is the line below doing? What is the var ID?
Variable ID equals rec rams.id.
Yeah.
That was lackluster, y'all.
Do not clap right now.
Not as a question though, just like definitively. Or ID rec-rams.id.
That was aggressive. Yeah. Get after it. Okay, cool. I'm really hopeful that everyone knows what's happening here, but still someone from the back right table walk me through what's going on right now. Just in line 41. I will cold call.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what's happening in 41.
No.
Pip. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
You're making a variable called map, and that will map through the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's all that's going on here. And then we are naming each thing we're naming each thing inside of it obj. So whenever we're referring to the one object that is inside of our map, at that moment, we call it obj. What is happening here? Someone in the back left table. Okay, yeah, you can answer.
Okay, so have we already talked about line 41?
Yeah, we're on 43 now.
So we're mapping through and we're asking if.
Just 43.
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
we're mapping through, and this specific statement is saying, hey, if the ID is matching our object ID, continue doing the next thing.
Yes, so we were saying if, I'm not repeating it because you're wrong, I'm repeating it so that people in the recording can hear it. Okay, so we're saying if the ID from our request matches the ID from the object that is inside of our map at the moment, then do something with it. Why do we have double equals?
Because ID comes in as a string and object ID.
Yes, so anything that comes in from rect.params is going to be a string, and our object ID is a number. We are going to use double equals so that we can use type coercion in our favor and have them match anyways.
And in relation to this line, like, because it's an if statement, know that our next order of business is saying, well, what if this isn't true, then the next thing would be to do an error handling, right? Like if it doesn't equal, you have to hit an error.
No, so we're not going, the question was if this doesn't equal, will we hit an error? We don't hit an error because inside of our map, we're not angry if it doesn't match. We're just saying if it doesn't match, we don't want to change it. So that's when we're just returning the object.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way this is written, there's kind of like an implied else. Because if that thing is true, then on line 47, it's going to return that object. Else, it's never going to make it past the if statement unless it's like not that thing. And then so it's the same thing as happening else pretty much. Yeah. And it's still being returned. So yeah, I think what you're saying is right. It's not like an error, but it's just gonna if it doesn't match the ID, it's just gonna return it the same way it is already. Okay. Yeah.
It's like a ghetto ternary statement.
Dang.
Harsh. No, it's I prefer only using, I don't know, I like implicit else. I like the syntax of just like, hey, if this is true, do this. And then if it's not, like, just keep going.
It's a trendy thing in the JavaScript world, like the term implicit else. Like there are like
really?
Those where people are like, implicit else, like that's the only way to write stuff.
That's how you can tell I'm trendy, is because I say implicit else. It's all about the vernacular. Okay, cool. So someone from this table tell me what this is doing here. Actually, don't tell me what this is doing, but tell me what the rest of it is doing. Just tell me what return obj equals this is doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it just returns you assign the ID to the new ID.
No, so not this. I want to know more, pretty much what this line is doing.
The line, okay.
Yeah.
It just returns the new object.
Yeah, so it reassigns the object that we're looking at right now to this new object that we're creating. Cool. What is this doing, this table?
So it's
No, you got it, man. Wing it.
Wing it, make it up. Spread operator, run with what you think that might mean.
So spread operator does, right, is it opens up an object or something like that. And
You're not wrong, yeah, keep going.
And then it replaces or puts in what you put into it, or what you.
You're on the right track. So what the spread operator does is it basically takes whatever you have out of its container. So if it's an array, it takes all the elements out of the array, and now you just have a bunch of elements. If it's an object, it takes all the key value pairs out of the object, and now you just have a bunch of key value pairs. So we're using it in this object, so we only have one object, because if we just said body, we would have an object inside of an object. That's not something we want. We just want all of our key value pairs to be inside this object. So when we change it, ideas is equal to ideas. This is what our spread operator spread out. Initially, ideas, this key value pair was inside of an object. But the spread operator takes away the curly braces, essentially, and just gives us the info we want. Spread operators are kind of confusing, but really cool once you start getting more familiar with them. So don't feel pressured to completely understand them right now, but start playing with them in REPL or things like that if you feel like you don't understand them, because they are a very powerful tool. Sweet. Someone in the room walk me through what these two lines are doing. Yeah, you can go.
So we're redefining the variable data to be the mapped variable that we just went through discussing on the first line, and then on the second line, we are sending the data as the response. At the end of this, when you hit that URL, if you hit like /1, you would send this as the response for ID1.
Yeah, so we are reassigning data to our new array that we created, and then we are sending off that new array that we are assigned to data. Cool. Okay, pull requests are a lot. So do not feel pressure to understand them at all. Take your time in doing that. But now we're going to move on into delete. Delete. Okay, why am I deleting by ID? Why do I have the route as ID?
Because you could have two entries that have the same idea and separate IDs. So you would want to use ID as the route because it's a unique identifier that would be more reliable than measure.
Yeah, so we want to use ID because it is a unique identifier for each element in our database, for each object we have. And because we really, really don't want them to be able to delete everything. We only want people to be able to delete by the ID, one thing at a time. Please don't delete everything in our database. One time I accidentally did that to myself, and it was the worst. So don't do that. Cool. Let's pseudocode it out. What are the things we're going to have to do in here? So we're going to have to grab ID from params. That is yes. And then select which one we want to delete. Oh, thank you. Did you say splice?
Yeah, don't splice.
Splice. Yeah, we could splice it. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead yet. So we'll get there when we get there, and then we'll figure out the best way to take an element out of an array in JavaScript. So we will need to take element out of array. Delete. Cool, so starting off, we want to grab ID from params. How am I going to do that?
Var, curly ID, equals rect.params.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Which is the same as var ID equals rec.params.id. Cool.
Do we need to grab the body at all?
There is no body.
Okay.
So the only thing, there's no body. The only things that have a body are put and post because they're giving us data that we're going to implement. Delete doesn't. Delete just tells us which one they want to get rid of. Cool, so what am I going to do now? I want to select which one we want to delete. How am I going to do that? If? Yes, we want to map before we if, because there's really nothing, there's just an array right now, but we want to get inside of that array, so we're going to map through it. So I'm going to say var mapped equals data.map. Pop quiz question. Why am I able to call these things the same thing? I have var mapped up here too. Scope? So normally scope would break it. If these were just a bunch of functions and I had var mapped used a bunch, that would break it, right? Because it would keep reassigning var mapped.
You don't run them though at the same time though. So
That is, yeah. So that is why it's different, is because they all don't run each time a route or a request hits our app.
like by definition
They can, yeah. So the only thing that's going to run when they say delete by ID is this. So I can say var mapped because that's the only thing that exists right now. This isn't being used at all. When they have a put request, it's not going to be happening at the same time as a delete request.
Speaking of scope, could we be doing like the ID and the body at the top and then calling them later?
I think that would mess with things because you need to define rec and res to be able to say rec.anything.
Yeah.
And so it's referring to the specific object that's coming through this specific thing. I don't think you can do it globally. Because you haven't defined what rec is yet. Because you can also call this requests and stuff. So you'd have to find some way to define rec and res up at the top, and I don't think you can do that. Yeah. Okay, sweet. So now we are mapping through, and we're going to have an if statement. It's going to be very, very similar to every other if statement we've written. What's it going to be?
If ID equal object
Yes, if ID double equals object.id. Do this thing. Cool. So now we've singled out the one thing that we want to delete. How do I get rid of it? There's a bunch of different ways to do this, so there's not like wrong answers. Pop?
Backspace. Unship.
You say backspace?
Okay.
Just delete it. So pop, what pop does is it takes the last thing off an array. So you can't pop a single. Splice could work. That'd be hard because we'd have to know the index.
How about find?
Find? So find would be replacing map, yeah. But we want to completely get rid of it. So what we can do is say obj equals, wait, how do you do this? 1 second, I have it up open somewhere, how I did it last time. It's not there? Is it here? Oh, filter. Brilliant. Okay. Man. Past me. Okay, so one way to solve it, and we can brainstorm a couple different ways, is we can say filter and return if object.id does not equal ID. So it's just gonna, it's not gonna return the thing that doesn't match. It's not gonna return the thing that matches. Yeah.
Yay.
So this is a pretty cool way of doing it, but what's another way we can do this? So say we stuck with our initial way, which is var mapped equals data.filter, data.map. I just want to brainstorm one more way together, and then we can move on to other things.
If object ID is not.
If it's not equal, oh, yeah, it was essentially the same logic, just written out a little more. But yeah, I like it. We'll stick with it. So either one of these would work. It's basically saying like, hey, if the ID matches, we don't want it, because we're deleting that one. And so what we're going to do is we are going to do something similar to what we did before, or actually the exact same. We're going to say data equals mapped now. And then we're going to res.send data back. So they can see the array without the thing that they deleted. They can see that it's gone. Pretty far. Oh yeah. An hour and 15 minutes. Oh god, an hour and 15 minutes. Should live stream it. Yeah, it's an hour and 15 minutes in. I can write in all caps somewhere, watch now, and then you'll know. That's not obvious enough. Take catch on a YouTube video. Cool. Okay, so now I think it's going to delete something. So let's test it out. Let's see if it actually does. You know what? Spoiler alert, maybe. Rude. Let's delete the first one. I don't want imaginary rabbits. It's gone. Sorry, here, wait. Oh my goodness, wait, hold up. It's going to be back in a second. Wild. It's back. So if we delete, let's delete something else. Let's delete pants. Let's get rid of pants. And then we'll send it. Anyone's going to be, no matter what I delete, someone's going to be insulted. Pants was the shortest, so I got rid of pants. And now we don't have the ID of 4 anymore. It's gone. And what is really cool about having a fully functional backend with a database and connection, all of that, is that it would reassign 4 to something else later. We can't because it would take a lot of logic to figure out which ID doesn't exist.
How did you get it back again?
How did I get it back? I just saved in VS Code so NodeMon would restart. Yeah.
Mine deleted. I just deleted it the way we wanted it to.
Yours did not delete anything. What did yours delete?
You have to do. Yeah, so mine, like, I ran it on entry 3. My data goes. I'll show you beforehand. This is right.
Okay, yeah.
If I run it on entry 3,
Did you go back?
we get that. Like a return of the true false. It's basically just saying all the other ones.
Are you doing the map?
Yeah, I think I'm doing the map.
Okay, I would say go to the filter.
I'm on delete and I don't have like params or authorization or any of that or key.
Oh, did you switch?
Oh, you don't have any of this? It might. Are you sure? Just like scroll, because it might just be doing this to you. In which case you can just scroll up at the right spot, and it will.
Yeah, it was me using it for that. So mine was right. Like everything about it was right. So what happened was it returned true for 1 and 2 and 4, and then 3 returned false, which was just the Boolean evaluation of whether or not I had happened. So then as soon as I switched to a filter, it started returning the actual information back.
There you go, now delete the first one. So I think there's a weird Postman error trying to
I
change the
still
method.
have the params and stuff you're seeing.
That might be because I changed from something else to delete. Sometimes Postman acts
And
funky.
how do you put it back? Post?
How do you put it back?
Yeah.
You can just save your code again, and it will restart NodeMon and put it back. What's up? Yeah.
Oh.
Go.
Been waiting on it. You got enough for me? Okay, good. Or something. Sure.
Yeah, they have a hot little, I don't know what's called.
It's like a Thai peanut. I don't like it.
I don't really like it.
If you just order them, you just order the wings. That's
Okay, I'm gonna finish up my
add
and then I'll Yeah.
Mr. Lee, what we're doing, because mine actually did the whole thing, even though
I don't know how it did that, but yes, we can still. Okay, so let's bring it back for a second. We're gonna finish out the breakout, and then I'll help anyone who has errors. I want to talk through what's happening in delete really fast, and
It's working.
Delete sucks. Rude. Rude.
Backspace for the win.
So, yeah, for the sake of time, because we've been doing this for so long, I'm just going to talk through what's going on here. We are creating a delete route by saying app.delete. We are only allowing them to delete by ID. They can't delete just whatever they want, or they can't delete everything at once. We're saying rec and res like usual. Then we're grabbing our ID from our rec.params. Then we are filtering through our array, only returning things that don't match the ID they sent us, reassigning that to our data so we have a new array that doesn't include the thing they wanted to delete, and then we're sending back the new array, and that new array does not contain the thing that they wanted to delete. Yeah. So it looks really long because I have a lot of commented out code, but it's a pretty short little function, and yeah, pretty not simple, but clear steps. Like it's clear why we're doing each thing, which is super nice.
The end of it?
And so this is the end because it has been a minute, so I'm not going to do anything more.
For like our mastery thing, we pretty much just got to do this.
You just have to make this, but with error handlers. So we will have, yes.
Or a gist or something.
Yeah. Error handlers are something that we can get into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean,
Do we do it?
Express, you go to the FAQ section of the Express docs, and you take their 404 and their 500, and you roll with it.
Is that it? Just the 404 stuff?
404 and 500 is like a great place to start. When you do your job, they might tell you like, yo, we gotta do this complicated thing, and it's gotta use next, and like that's fine, you can figure that out, but we'll just start with 404 and 500 on the FAQ.
Cool.
I made my own 404 page.